It's time to meet the governor. You are listening to the Bill podcast with me, Natalie Roles. Brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk, cityfiction.co.uk, and vanguardcomics.co.uk. Hello and welcome to the first instalment of a very special trilogy of podcasts with my old boss, Paul Marquess. Paul is one of the busiest producers in TV, and he amazingly made time for this podcast whilst he was on location making a new series of the BBC drama Hope Street, which is where we begin our chat. We also talk about Paul's background, his early days in television, and how he landed his job as executive producer on The Bill.
Hello, Natalie Roles.
Hello, Paul.
How glamorous are you? Thank God. I love your hair.
I'm mixing the grey.
It really suits you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You look great. You look the same. You do.
Really?
Yeah. I like the dark background. That's very nice.
I'm in a hotel.
Oh, are you? Are you out in Ireland?
I'm Belfast, yeah.
You're in Belfast. Ah.
We got 2 days of a 20-week shoot to go, so it's been quite full on.
Well, I'm just going to start with that because usually on these podcasts right at the end, and I like to ask each guest if they've had a dream project that they like to make happen. But in your case, I think you're already doing that with Hope Street. Would you say that's one of your dream projects?
Well, I first pitched a sort of version of Hope Street about 20 years ago. So I'm from Belfast and moved to England when I was 18, which is a very long time ago, in the days when there was no TV drama made in Northern Ireland. And, in those days, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And then I ended up working in the theatre and education and retail. And then this year, in fact, in about 3 weeks' time, it's 30 years since I started in telly, my accidental first job at Granada. And then I started to think that what Northern Ireland needed was a returning drama series. And so about 20 years ago, I first started going to the BBC, and people would go, well, that's a good idea. And no one ever commissioned it. And then there was Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones in production terms solved lots of problems in Northern Ireland because there was so much production and people were able to learn. That was great. And then Game of Thrones stopped. And suddenly you had a situation where there were some really talented, skillful people here. And it seemed to me the moment had come to pitch my idea again, which is returning drama, not just shot here, but set here. And I got together a writer called Suzanne Farrell, who's a really good film writer from here, lives in London. It suddenly became an idea everyone said no to, and it became an idea everyone said yes to. It got commissioned really, really fast. And suddenly people were saying, can we have it now? And we're going, no, we have to write it first.
And you wrote some of the episodes as well.
I've written a few of them.
Yeah.
I did the showrunner thing. I do a fair bit of writing on it because I co-created it. And the thing about it is, you never stop learning. And it's a crime story of the week, but it's not just that. It's about a community. It's about this group of characters that Susie created. Really, I keep saying to people, charming is really hard work. It's much easier to do hard hitting. People being stabbed and beaten up is much easier than charming. Charming is so it's not just the stories you tell, but the way you tell the stories. We've had some brilliant writers on the show who've really got it, and we've had some other writers who've brought great stories to us, but some people have struggled with the tone. Ultimately, it needs to be life affirming. It needs to be warm. You need to come and the idea is you come and spend 43 minutes at Port Divine. At the end of it, you've been entertained, a mystery's been solved, and you feel a bit better about yourself. You don't feel that you want to go away and slit your wrists.
No, it was really actually I saw a really heartwarming episode with the older couple without any spoilers here, but there was an older couple and the hidden gender story. I think that was around episode
Oh, that's a good
4.
episode.
Oh, I was
That's a good
really,
episode.
and then that got me into the next episode. So I was,
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
say, heartwarmed. It was a
yeah.
really clever reveal. It must have been hard growing up in Belfast and then coming to Manchester. It was the 80s, wasn't it? It was that whole sort of, was it 80s? Sorry.
Yeah.
That,
No, it
yeah,
was.
well, I know, I was there.
82, 82. I'm really old.
Oh, I was
82.
running up the whatever it was, the M1, going to the Hacienda and all of, that whole time was it was a fantastic time to be part of that evolving. So, how was the beginning of your journey there? Because I didn't know you did theatre.
I was so clueless. I did youth drama in Belfast and then decided I wanted to do drama as a degree. When I got into drama at Manchester, I had no idea what that entailed. I mean, nowadays there's the internet. Do you know what I mean? I just got in to do drama, and it was much more academic than I was expecting, this degree, and which I think was good for me ultimately, because I didn't know there was anything really other than being an actor, and I was really bad. In my first year, we did this show, and I won't go, it's a long story, but the short version is I was in this show acting really hard. At the end of the dress rehearsal, I heard the writer and the director walking past the dressing room, and they said, went really well, went really, really well. Yeah, apart from that Northern Irish boy, he was terrible, wasn't he? And my little heart broke. But they did me a favour. I was terrible. I mean, I was acting so hard, Natalie. Acting very, very it just wasn't my natural forte. And then I wanted to be a theatre director, but I was quite clueless. And I did a postgrad in Cardiff. I got to direct lots of plays. That was great. But I was, I didn't know what to do or where to go. And then the very short version is I spent 2 years in Manchester running a theatre and education company, which was brilliant. And that was working with trainees on the youth training scheme. YTS, that's right, isn't it?
YTS, yeah.
Which was a terrible Thatcherite, blah, blah, blah. But we were the people who were exploiting it. And that was just brilliant. And then that sort of came to an end. I think they realised they were putting too much money into it. And I went to London to be a theatre director and ended up working in a shop, and worked in a shop until I was 29 and a half, and then got drunk with a mate who worked at Granada and ended up doing this. And at a point in my life where I thought, I'm not going to get a chance like this again. So I literally packed up in London, moved to Manchester on the strength of, I think, a 6-week contract or something, and was first in the office and last out, and worked and was, very, very keen and hardworking, because I was nearly 30. And I've always thanked God I was nearly 30 and not 21. When I was 21, I wouldn't have lasted 4 seconds in that job. I was an idiot. It was just the right moment for me. And suddenly I was on this floor where they were making Stars in Their Eyes and Children's Ward and Coronation Street. And it was proper telly. It was like, it was like being in Hollywood, for me. It was just amazing. And by such a total fluke, I think I sort of found something I was all right at, so.
And that was the jump into television onto
Yeah.
When you went into script editing on Coronation Street.
When I was first told about being a script editor, I didn't know what it was. And when it's described to me, I thought, sounds really easy. So you read the script, make your notes, get the producer's notes and tell the writer. Oh, that's easy. It's a bit harder than that. But I had run a business before. And so very early on, certain people at Granada said, oh, you could produce. I'd go, yes, I think I could. Not a clue what that meant. Not a Scooby-Doo. But, obviously my thing is to go, yeah. I'd managed people and been in management training courses, and, so lots of the nuts and bolts of managing, which is what producing is really. I
like something I read in an article that you were saying about working in a shop. I had a similar thing with my mum and dad's business, was being, with the general public. Ours was the front of, a car shop, selling cars, selling petrol. And there was something that I read from one of your articles saying, you never know what, at that moment, what people want, but you have to make a decision. So in a sense, that was a groundwork for you going forward. I mean, just that little, from 20 to 30, that was a huge amount of experience in different areas.
Oh, I mean, invaluable. And when I got into TV, there was all these people who'd only worked in TV, and the script would come in and they say, "Oh, this script is terrible. What should we do? This is a meeting in 2 weeks." I think, why don't we just fix it? I could phone the writer now, because it was like you said. Because I remember, standing in one of the shops I managed was a lighting shop, and I remember this guy literally had a standard lamp about 4 foot tall, and he's starting to hit me with it. And you can't say, "Oh, I'll get back to you in 4 weeks." You need to deal with it then and there. So I think for me, so I was very, very shy and socially awkward, and I'm still very socially awkward. But it was really good for me. It was such a massive surprise to me that I was good at booking a shop. I applied for the job in total desperation, lied to the interview as I always do. And then the first day I was thinking, we open at 10, I'll be sacked by 10:05. And then bizarrely found out I was really good at it. It's the best acting I ever did, it's the second best acting I ever did. The best acting I ever did, this is a good soundbite, is when I became executive producer of The Bill, because I decided that I needed to act the part of the executive producer.
The executive producer.
Yes, which mainly meant stomping around the corridors in that horrible building. When all I was doing was going to the loo, but looking very purposeful and quite serious and busy. I remember being so scared by it, so intimidated, thinking, the thing to do is to this is where your acting needs to come in, is to be a scary executive producer, and then get close to the door in the office and go, "Oh God,
phew, I can sit down now and just shut the
take
blinds,
take a breath, and worry about what's going to be these week's episodes." So
wow.
all of that life experience, I do thank. I mean, I applied for telly jobs when I was 21, 22. Thank God. I never got an interview, and thank God I didn't. No, it would have been useless.
The landscape of television changed so much in the late 90s. What was it like from that side of the industry looking out? Could you sense that something needed to change to establish shows to survive? Because it's such a broad spectrum now with all these different channels.
Yes, but ultimately, Phil Redmond said, because I did The Bill, I did Brookside for 2 years, which I loved. It was a bit mad because it was sort of the court of King Phil Redmond, who is, of course, brilliant. It was always his show, but I had such a lovely time. And he and I got on really well. And he said to me, "You've got the defective soap gene." I thought, "Cheers, Phil." That he has and Mal Young had, and you either got it or you don't. And he also said to me that I should always remember, he said, you've got a remarkable facility for thinking about the people on the sofa watching, because I think so many people in television, they never think about that. I still work with people like that. It's all about their process and this directors, writers, all the rest. You think ultimately there's only one person that matters in this, and that is the viewer, and so every job I've ever done, I think Brookside was where I started to learn how to apply that, really. I think Brookside was still a bit me enjoying myself too much, and with The Bill was where I had to grow up. So I got this call from ITV saying, "Would you like to come do The Bill? Would you like to be in a shortlist for The Bill?" They said. I went, "Oh yeah, all right then, of course." And then everyone said, "This shortlist is very short. It's very, very short." And so I went to this mad interview at Thames with ITV in the interview. So ITV took me to Thames and went, "Hello." Yes, I did the interview. So I sort of knew I got the job, and it was with Alan Boyd, legendary Alan Boyd, who's on Thames, who is a TV genius. I loved Alan Boyd, and we hit it off like absolutely straight away. And so I thought, yeah, I've already got this job. But I hadn't really thought it through. It was sort of, I got the job, and then there was this sort of week of hit your stomach, like thing to do, sort of talking about when people talking about, yes, well, figures on ITV and all these new channels and The Bill under pressure, and thinking, well, this is quite a big job, actually. It's not just let's make lots of episodes of The Bill, which of course is, what a train set. Also, a much bigger train set than I'd realised. And I wasn't allowed to go there for the first week. I had to hide up in Stephen Street.
Did you meet? Was there a handover?
Very lovely Richard Hanford was still there.
Yes.
And I think they decided that if we met, we might kill each other. I subsequently met Richard. What a lovely man. So I think the chances of violence were nil. But there was lots of people, they must never meet. So people had to come and talk to me. me. So it was all quite surreal. And then, then this is Monday morning, I got the tube to South Wimbledon. And for the first time, walked around that building. God, it was ugly. And beyond intimidating, beyond.
Yes.
And then I remember Esther, the brilliant Esther, my PA, saying, they're more scared of you than you are of them.
Oh,
I was really scared.
really, really scary. Everyone, we
Yeah.
were all in the same boat, weren't we, around that time? Because the changes were so apparent. It was all happening.
It was the thing is, if anyone's interested in this, it was do or die for the bill. It really was. So what was made very clear to me was that the overnight figures were all right. The demographic was terrible. And ITV is a commercial organization. It sells advertising. It still does, not as much, but it still does. It was all about, what paid for the bill. And so you could nuance it all you like. At the end of the day, the advertisers paid for the bill. The advertisers weren't prepared to advertise during the bill. There would be no bill. That bit I got,
Yes.
and also I was a viewer. So, and I'd stopped watching it, and I'd been a viewer, like a really loyal viewer. And there was lots of people thought I'd come along to vandalize this show. I'd watched it from the start, and I had to ask myself why I'd stopped watching it, why I was disengaged. And you were there, so you know that there was lots of this sort of pressure from ITV to serialize it before I got there. So when I arrived, they were building a set for Reg Hollis's house. And where lots of people were going to be lodgers with Reg, and there were scenes from Reg's house. I just thought, no, who wants to watch that? You want to watch them being police officers, mainly. And someone said to me really early on, "Oh, you get rid of the POV, the police POV." I said, "No, what? You take that away, and there's nothing left." That's what was so brilliant about it. It was all from the point of view of the police.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a shot of Eva Sharp, coming out of a cafe. And the cafe owner she'd been talking to, looking out the window and basically, twirling his moustache and making it cool. And I said, you have to take that out because Eva Sharp didn't see that. So it's not from the police point of view. So it seemed to me those fundamentals of the show, that was the format, and also things that I bang on about. Brilliant pre-watershed format, brilliant. Someone can be raped and murdered, but the police aren't there when it happens. So we went to investigate it. We didn't do nasty graphic stuff before 9 o'clock. So anecdotally, all the people I knew, and you must have had the same, friends and family say, well, I'm watching my kids, from a really commercial point of view, that's a good thing because that's more people and they are younger.
That's an interesting thing we were saying. It's like now the people, I think the demographic then was, I think you said something in an interview with The Guardian, the bill's core demographic is white men over 50. And guess who it's been written by, produced and directed by? White men over 50. And I'm not here to slag it off, as there have been some terrific episodes. I'm here to make it more relevant. That's what you said, which is exactly what you did.
But as well, some of those white men after over 50 stayed and did brilliant stuff. It wasn't about that. Now I am a white man well over 50. At the time I was, as I said that, I thought, well, this is coming for you, mate. This will bite you on the arse one day. But they weren't the problem, is that there was nobody else. And I sat down with the script department in week one, who were all young and mainly female, and said, right, be really honest with me, you 25 young people, who there were, if you didn't work on this, would you watch it? Put your hand up. And none of them did. And they were certainly an audience that ITV would have liked to have had. And also, what a shame.
Yeah, but you fixed that. You fixed that one. Because now it's funny, because the reruns now, the people are, the fans now are the younger people showing their kids. It's like a rerun of what we were doing, because it was our families that checked it. I remember the first episode, the parents saying, let us watch it first to see if you can watch it. So in a sense, you've got all those people viewing it now, the youngsters. It is a youngsters show. So you made great changes. You made cast changes. The press had enjoyed over the years referring to you as the Axeman of ITV. What do you think of that tag?
It's just lazy journalism. Also, because I worked with Brian Park, he was the Axeman. I never loved talking about this, because It's people's jobs. The other side of it is they're all actors. And if you want a job for life, don't become an actor. That'd be my advice, But on the other,
True.
but you put a human being in front of you, and it's never pleasant. And so the thought that anyone would think that I would ever think, oh, I'm going to tell an actor that I'm not renewing the contract today, ha ha ha. It was always horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And then you got the press going, ooh, mad Axeman, blah blah blah. I think, well, that's not me. I mean, I suppose it's all newspapers. It was hard, and the one or two actors in particular on the bill. I'm not going to name names. It was very hard actually to sit them down who've been there for a long time and say, I'm really sorry, blah blah blah, and I don't think it's going to go any longer. That was very difficult, but it needed doing. And also there were quite a few actors that had been brought in sort of tranche before I think you were one of them actually. We loved you.
I was the only one standing, so I really thank you. I was one of the only ones left from Hamford's, when he brought in that group.
I think all that was, it wasn't anything, I think I liked you, do you know what I mean? And I thought you were interesting, and I instantly thought, very attractive, blah, blah, blah. We can do very interesting stuff with this character. I hadn't met you then, I'd only seen you. It's like casting, and casting's changed so much now, because so much casting is on Zoom or on tape.
Self-tape.
In a way, it's good, because you just go, am I interested? I really am. So I saw you and thought, really interested. Stephen Hartley, boom, going to do stuff with Stephen Hartley. It has to start with me feeling enthusiastic.
The amount of amazing, strong women you brought in as well.
So between Richard leaving and me arriving, the producers had cast Connie to play Kathy, right? And that's just against the law. You do not cast a regular character before the new execs arrive. So I was like, well, she has to go. And also, because the script department were going, she was meant to be like a surfer babe from Hong Kong. And we don't think she is. I mean, she's a very good actress, Connor, by the way. So I said, well, show me some of what she's doing. So they showed me this clip, and it's just Kathy Bradford chasing someone into a shed and threatening with the ass, which just put the stick down. And I was thinking, oh, we'll make her mad. And then we got 3 years of story out of it, So I was really, really open. It was never about who had been brought in by who, or la 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 la. It's just who do I connect with? You know what I mean? As a viewer, you think, and I'm sure I said to you many times, I'm the executive producer. I'm the author of this show. I have to love it. I have to love it, because there's nothing worse than churning out stories that you don't believe in, And you need to have that sort of childish enthusiasm and keep remembering how lucky you are to be doing a job like that. Best job I ever did, Bill. Best job I ever did. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So hard, but oh God, I loved it. And when I left, my family and friends said, yeah, can you talk about something else now?
On all of your shows, like from Suspects to London Kills, even Hope Street, the women are phenomenal characters. Is there anything to do with like your mum? Was she a big part of your like growing up? Is there something about women that you really, there's something, because not everyone gives the women the chance.
Well, my mother's a very, very strong character.
I bet.
So I've seen a lot of her this summer because I've been in Northern Ireland. And I don't, you won't know, I serve this test in story competence of the bill. I say, well, my mother won't like that. My mother won't get that. So she became a sort of mythical figure. I don't know if she knows this actually. I don't know. I think the thing about strong women is it's sort of a no-brainer. I mean, more than half the population are female. We have lived through the last 50, 60 years where women's roles have been changing and growing and developing. And personally, that's nothing but good. And so, in fiction, you'll be able to put women into roles where they haven't quite been in before, you haven't quite seen it before, or it gives it a twist, or it gives it a nuance or a tone. I mean, look at Robbie playing Inspector Gina Gold. It's like, I was such a big Roberta Taylor fan, and I was always frustrated by her in her character, not her, but her character in EastEnders was always slightly on the back foot, and I'd never met Robbie. So she came in to talk about the bill, and she got the part. She walked through the door, and I thought,
nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, but I also thought, you are exactly what I thought you'd be. You are not whatever she was called, EastEnders. And I remember somebody wrote her first episode and they just didn't get it. And I, being a massive vile control freak, said, I'm sorry, I need to rewrite these scenes myself. She had read the script and was a bit, and then being Roberta, she came to see me and went, oh, I love it now.
Yeah.
I go,
You
yeah,
got it.
no, I mean, the thing I loved the most was she thought June Ackland was useless. Because June was like God, wasn't she, and could do no wrong. We have another woman come in and go, oh, she's a bit dull, isn't she? Was really, really entertaining. And God, I love Trudy as well. And also, I mean, when I first told Trudy, so Trudy came in to see me, sat down. I said, "This was happening to June," blah blah, and she went, "I think I might need a stretcher and an ambulance to take me away." She said, "Because all I've done for the past 10 years is book people in and out of custody."
Great.
I was like, "I'd say you're a national treasure."
Oh, she is. And you gave great storylines for all, the established names on the bill, like Trudy, Mark Wingett, Graham Cole, Simon Rouse, Jeff Stewart. How important was the legacy of the programme for you, and how much did you want to use those actors? You also brought back Eric Richard and Jay Griffiths, Larry Dan.
That was personal. I loved them. You know what I mean? I was so excited when Eric Richards back. I think only one episode or something or two, but I said, "Do you think you might do it? Think you might do it?" I genuinely watched it from the start, and it's interesting. I have caught over the last 6 to 9 months quite a lot of our episodes, which I hadn't seen for a very, very long time. And I'm working with Donna. My business partner is Donna Whiffen, who was our
Donna Whiffen
at the bill. So we've been shackled together ever since. We have a company together now. We make Hope Street together. The brilliant Donna Whiffen. And I phoned her up and went, "It's really good." It's really good. I mean, it looks great. It's really well directed. The acting's really, really good. And people keep telling me how good it is.
It was brilliant. And someone, I think it was Pal Aaron that I spoke to recently, like when you look back at it now, like you've just said, you look at it now and it doesn't really age. It's like it's so current in the way it was shot, in the way it was put together as a show. Yes. And that's all down to you.
We transformed the look of it. I mean, the story about we transformed the look of it. And obviously, we painted the sets. They were, as you know, all grey. So we painted them different colours. But also, we got this DOP in and said to him, like, "We'll give you 6 months to look at the bill." And he came on day 2 and said, "You don't need me for 6 months. There's this thing called colour saturation," which now I know about, and then I didn't. And he said, there's like the maximum you're allowed and the minimum. I said, "Don't tell me. We're on the minimum, aren't we?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Put it on the maximum." So then we did this tape where we had you guys in some scenes in front of the new painted sets with the colour saturation turned up, and showed it to ITV, who thought we spent a fortune. We were going, "Oh, it's transformed. What have you done?" It was so technical. And it was a setting on the camera, But also, I suppose somebody said to me, I was telling this story, someone said to me, "Well, yeah, but you had to have the balls to go, put it right up to the maximum." You know what I mean? Because the show became all about the faces, all about those faces, And yes, that is slightly soapy. It is more serialized, but it's the difference to me is between watching a not very interesting police officer investigate a crime and watching Debbie investigate a crime. I'm interested in Debbie, and I know a bit about what's going on in Debbie's private life. I know she's pregnant with Chandler's baby, for example. But you could also tune in, not having seen one before, and watch Debbie investigate a crime. You didn't necessarily need to know all the nuance of what was going on. La 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 la. I always remember there was an episode where we just had no hook whatsoever. Cast availability or something, la la la. We were hookless, and so it's the one where Debbie has got her scan and Chandler tears it up and pushes down the toilet. 3 little scenes at the end, but it's one of my favorite episodes in a funny sort of way. It was a really good 52 minutes of crime with sort of a minute at the end of Chandler and Debbie, which was all that you needed to go, "I have to watch the next one. I have to watch the next one." It was really clear to me that it was my job to attract a mass audience. Now when we did that live episode, we got 11.5 million viewers, and we regularly, when I came in, it was doing about 5, I think. We were regularly doing 8, sometimes 8.5, 9 million twice a week on ITV. And so that's a very different viewing experience from anything now. That doesn't happen anymore. I feel really, really lucky to have had the chance to do that. I mean, I would say I've been there in terrible Merton for, I don't know, 9 months or something. And I got on the Northern Line to go to Clapham Common. And there was these group of school kids, mainly girls, and they were talking about the bill. And they were like 15, 16, and they were very London, very South London, very, very street. And they were going on and on all the way down to Clapham Common. I nearly stayed on the tube. And but it was so brilliant. And you thought, I bet you a year ago, if you said to those kids, will you watch the bill, they would have thought you were from the planet Neptune. You know what I mean? So it's just about connecting and telling crime stories that the audience are interested in. We said right at the start, Jake Riddle, Jake, who was my story producer, we said, let's just do stories about kids. Everyone cares about kids. You don't have to have kids to care about kids. And if you look at loads of those stories in those first 2 years, it's all kids, different, different stories and different angles and all the rest of it. And one of those was, we said we should make one of our main characters pregnant, and that was Debbie.
There's loads more to come from Paul, who was very generous with his time. If you can't wait until next month, you can listen to part 2 and part 3 early. They are available to unlock along with 150 hours of bonus content on patreon.com/The Bill Podcast. One of the perks is that you join this list of legends who all help make the podcast possible. The Bill Podcast is produced by Oliver Crocker, brought to you in association with GeorgeFairbrother.com, shop.saturdaymorningpress.co.uk, cityfiction.co.uk, and vanguardcomics.co.uk. The Bill Podcast is co-produced by Ben Adams, Glenn Allen, Rob Cook, Glenn Cooney, Georgina Dark, Sarah Kuiper, Bryony Kelly, Maz Mirabilis, Alex Mockler, and Simon Wolfe. Our executive producers are Isabel Allen, Ben Ashmore, Mark Bennett, Alana Dewar, Andrew Dyack, Paul Dunn, Tony Drury, Dan Evans, George Fairbrother, Luke Hegarty, Robert Hoger, Edward Kellett, James Ledane, Thomas Johnston, Lucy McNeil, Gary Moncur, Danny Morris, Steph Morris, Claire Norbury, Laura Pinney-Fay, Alistair Wrigley, Michael Seeley, Tom Sherrington, Angel Stannard, Paul Statter, Patrick Stratford, Michael Weil, and Sarah Went. Huge thanks to all you lovely producers who make the Bill Podcast possible. If you'd like to add your name to the credits and support the podcast, join the investigation at patreon.com/The Bill Podcast. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.